This Wednesday, March 6th, at the Gwen Sector Creative Living Center at 1588 Main Street, the Music N Mavens Concert and Lecture Series is presenting the amazing Argentinian-Canadian singer-songwriter Onna Lou in a concert called Onna Lou Sings Songs of Latin America. Fusing Latin pop with Latin American folk rhythms, tango, and flamenco, Onna Lou has been described as a complete artist who sings, writes, performs, and records her own music with warmth, intimacy, and immense talent. She holds a degree in contemporary writing and production from the Berklee College of Music in Boston, and since arriving in Winnipeg in 2016, she has established herself as a leading voice in Latin American music here in Canada, being nominated for Global Artist of the Year in 2023 and Western Canada Music Awards. And joining me here in the Classic 107 studio, I am joined by Onna Lou. Hi, Onna Lou. Nice to have you here.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for that introduction.
Before we get to the concert on Wednesday, you've released 2 albums, Aurora in 2015 and the highly successful album Diamante in 2022. I was on the Manitoba Music website, and apparently you have a 3rd album coming out this year. How has that been going, and when can we expect that to come out?
It's great. I am so excited. It's going to come out in October. That's the plan. But I will start releasing singles sooner, like May, and then I'll probably release 1 single per month, leading to the full album in October.
And can we get what's the name of the album?
Yeah, Quiero verte volar, which means I want to see you fly.
Wonderful. And you've done this before. You've produced your albums with your longtime collaborator, Javier Limon. Is this same album produced with him?
Let me make a little correction there. I'm producing it with my longtime collaborator, Julian Vidal, who is also my husband.
Okay.
He's a Berklee grad as well, and sound engineer and music composer. Javier Limon, he's been my teacher at Berklee, and I worked with him while I was a student, and I learned some flamenco with him, and I started writing in Spanish with him. I was writing in English before Javier.
Okay.
And so that was sort of the start of finding my real voice, I think. And I had some wonderful experiences while studying with him at Berklee, which was going to the Latin Grammys and meeting Alejandro Sanz. And it was just wonderful, like a very, very lucky time for me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Canada is such a great melting pot of culture, language, and music, and there's such a strong Latin American community here in Winnipeg. One of the things I always wonder with Latin American musicians is, do you learn from each other? Things like feel, style kinds of music. Is that a thing?
Oh, yeah.
Is there this cross-pollination that happens here? And do you now incorporate that in your own new music?
You are so right. That's exactly what happens. I was thinking about this a lot these last few days, because I was thinking, like, we are very lucky in Latin America, and I think it's probably because of we share a language. So many countries share the language in South America, except for Brazil. They speak Portuguese, but we all grow up sort of like listening to music in English, from the States, Canada, British music, but also from all countries of Latin America. So we get this influence from rhythms from all over the place forever, and as I started playing music and as I met more musicians, we're always asking each other, like, how is it that you play that rhythm, and what's the characteristic, and we love talking about it, so we just start teaching each other.
Yeah, like I'm just sort of wondering, you're an Argentinian musician, if you're talking to a Peruvian musician, if there'd be styles and traits of music that would...
I will be asking them, like, can you teach me the Landau rhythm? Where is it? What happens in the upbeat? And all those things. I do that all the time. And my friends here, Rodrigo, Muñoz, Victor, Marco Castillo, they all know. Like, I'm always asking them stuff.
It's wonderful. Aside from being a great musician, you're very much a producer. You studied it at Berklee. Why is this aspect of recording so important to you? And does this skill in production help you when you're doing live shows like the one on Wednesday?
Because, it's wonderful as a musician. If you have this inclination to write the arrangement, and to imagine the song with all instruments, and you want to record an album, to have that amount of control where you are the person who is doing all that, it gives me it's very rewarding. It also sometimes can have made me be a little bit isolated because it didn't force me to work with other people, as it happens for other musicians who maybe they don't produce, so they work with other people. So it has its pros and its cons, but it helps me. And of course, when I want to put a show up, I can write the arrangements, I can imagine different instrumentations, and I can do all that by myself.
Yeah, absolutely. You came to Canada in 2016, and since then you've had children, from what I hear, and you've experienced freezing, bitterly cold Winnipeg winters, and you've traveled the country. Music for you is very much life. Do these relatively new influences make it into your music? And can you talk about that a bit?
Yes, I think so. Since I arrived here, it was like 7 years ago, I had really no idea really about music scene here, except for knowing some big names, and having been a big fan of Alanis Morissette when I was growing up. But I didn't know much, and I didn't know if I could do my music here, if anyone would care, what would people be like. I knew nothing. And as the years went by, and especially the last 2 years, when I released my second album and I started touring and going to music conferences and finding kind of like I found so far that I think I feel most comfortable around folk people, folk music scene, and jazz probably too. And I've been meeting these people and listening to so many artists and folk music, and the lyrics, and it's so close to what I do with my music, the feel of folk lyrics and all that connection with emotion and stories and that appreciation of the little things in life. And I've noticed it's coming to my writing, and it's making me a little bit more folky poppy.
Yeah, which is not a bad thing. So writing a great song is writing a great song.
Yeah.
You can learn about lyrics and what from friends who are maybe country folk musicians. There's always this trade-off, right?
Yes.
The concert this Wednesday is not at the Rady JCC Center, but is instead at the Gwen Sector Living Center. Can you talk about how this gig came about with Music and Mavens, and have you ever performed at the Gwen Sector before?
Never at Gwen Sector. I actually have no idea what the venue looks like or anything. I'm going to know on Wednesday. But it's the second time I participate in the Music and Mavens series. I think the first time was
2022 or 2020.
2022? I don't know. I really don't know. I know it's after my son was born, but I don't remember quite when it was. And I sort of proposed this idea to Carla of doing like a sort of a South American trip through South America, and sharing songs of my own and songs from all countries of Latin America, and she loved it. And what I did last time, and we're gonna sort of do the same this time, is project translations of the lyrics on a screen. I love that. I love doing that because I love lyrics. I love writing my lyrics, and I love understanding lyrics, and it's so much more enjoyable for me, and I think for the audience, when we can connect in that level too.
Mm-hmm. You're also going to be performing with your husband and partner, Julian Vidal. He's going to be singing and playing some percussion for this show. You perform with so many great Latin American artists, either locally here in Winnipeg or across the country. Does it change anything on stage when you're performing with your husband, somebody who you have this intimacy with?
Yes, it's just great. I love playing with him. And we also have been known to have a fun banter on stage that people seem to enjoy. So it's always a lot of fun. And, and I feel more supported when I'm performing with him because of this, exactly that. We can chat on stage and interact with the audience. I love interacting with the audience, and I always do it. But it's fun to have someone else. And he's a stage person. He's an actor too. So he's just so fun to have around.
Can you talk about what audiences are going to hear on Wednesday? The name of the concert is Onna Lou Sings Songs of Latin America. You've touched on it. You're going to be playing some original stuff. But is it going to be traditional covers as well, by folks by like Carlos Gardel or Chibuca Granda? Can you talk about what exactly people are going to be hearing?
Yeah, I'm going to play one song by Chabuca Granda that I've been playing for a few years that is called, and it's escaping me now. Well, I don't remember the name of the song right now, but I'm going to play one of her songs, a song by Carlos Gardel as well, Mi Buenos Aires Querido. I'm going to be playing songs from Mexico, from Cuba, from Puerto Rico, from Brazil, from Paraguay, from Chile, from Argentina, from Uruguay. I don't know if I said it already, but yeah, I've chosen songs from many countries to kind of showcase, all these elements that differentiate us, but also unite us in Latin American music.
And you're going to talk about how they different?
I always like talking a little bit about maybe the composer or the context for the song, depending on what information have on each piece.
Mm-hmm. And so you're going to be playing some of your own stuff as well. Anything off the new album?
Oh yeah. It's going to maybe 2 or 3 songs from the new album, probably. Yeah.
Fantastic. I'll wrap up the conversation by asking what you hope audiences are going to take away from Wednesday's show at the Gwen Sector Creative Living Center.
But hopefully they will fall in love, if they haven't yet, with Latin American music and how rich it is and how amazing it is, and maybe falling in love with listening to it, but maybe looking up translations for the lyrics. And I don't know, I think it's quite different from folk and country and pop. And I think it could be very enriching for some people who appreciate that to start doing that.
Absolutely. I love it. And one of the reasons I love it is the wonderful rhythms and feels. Onna Lou, this has just been such a treat to talk to you today. All the best on Wednesday. I'm sure it's going to be an excellent concert. Thanks for taking the time to stop by. And I'm going to get you to play us out today. Can you tell us what we're going to hear?
I will play one song from the next album, which is called Soneto 17, Sonnet 17, which is the first time I'm going to include in my albums a song which I haven't written the lyrics to, because the lyrics are by a Chilean poet, Pablo Neruda. He was one of the most celebrated Chilean poets.
Yeah, of course.
And this is taken from his book, 100 Sonnets of Love, which he wrote to his wife, his second wife, describing how much he loved her, or the different ways he loved her during the day, in the different times of day.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
I'll let you take it away.
What I'm going to share with you today. Hope it makes you think of that person you would write 100 sonnets to. No te amo como si fueras rosa de sal, topacio o flecha de claveles que propagan el fuego. Te amo como se aman ciertas cosas oscuras, secretamente entre las sombras y el alma. Te amo sin saber cómo, ni cuándo, ni de dónde. Te amo directamente, sin problemas ni orgullos. Así te amo, porque no sé amar de otra manera. Te amo como la planta que no florece y lleva dentro de sí escondida la luz de aquellas flores. Y gracias a tu amor llevo oculto en el cuerpo el apretado aroma que ascendió de la tierra. Te amo sin saber cómo, ni cuándo, ni de dónde. Te amo directamente, sin problemas ni orgullos. Así te amo, porque no sé amar de otra manera. Sino así, de este modo, en que no soy ni eres, tan cerca que tu mano sobre mi pecho es mía, tan cerca que se cierran tus ojos con mi sueño. Te amo sin saber cómo, ni cuándo, ni de dónde. Te amo directamente, sin problemas ni orgullos. Así te amo, porque no sé amar de otra manera, de otra manera, de otra manera.
Onna Lou, thanks a lot.